For RCIA candidates, we're getting to that time. If there is one, just anything that you could say, I'm a convert myself, and so this is near and dear to my heart. We all three teach RCIA and help facilitate RCIA in our diocese and in our cluster parishes. What would you say to those candidates looking at coming in and joining the Catholic Church? If there was anything in particular.
Really, the main thing I would say this to those who are approaching the church and those who are already in the church, wanting to live their faith more deeply. Christ in the Eucharist. I mean, to me, the liturgy teaches us that it's the source and the summit of Catholic life. And kind of like we were talking about, and I think it's interesting because I had a conversation earlier this week. We're here in the Diocese of Tyler, this whole liturgical year has been the year of the Eucharist.
It's awesome.
And the reason I did that is because I'm sure you've all heard, the X percentage of Catholics don't really believe in the real presence. And that is a huge problem.
Right.
And I would say to the people that are interested in becoming Catholic, you primarily become Catholic because you believe that bread and wine becomes the body and blood, soul and divinity of God's divine Son. If you really, and many converts that I've talked to say that's what really started to draw them to the church. Because, the other churches and many other Christian denominations, they're better Christians than I am, but they don't have the fullness of Christ to help them. That's what we have. It's a great responsibility to be Catholic. And, it gets into this politician should be excommunicated and shouldn't receive communion. Absolutely. If you're not living away in communion with the church, you shouldn't be receiving Jesus Christ. And I think very often, if you really drill down and really have a conversation with that person, you're going to find that they don't really believe that bread and that wine have become what we believe as Catholics, the body and blood, soul and divinity of Jesus Christ. So I would say for anyone that wants to truly become Catholic, then embrace that. Hopefully that's what's already attracting them, but to feed that faith, to nurture that, to spend time in prayer in his presence, to talk to Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament because he's really there, just like we're talking, and humanly, it takes some practice and it takes strong faith for sure, but it takes the grace of God, but it also takes time. It takes just making that commitment. I mentioned, Christ in the Eucharist because I believe that anyone who really embraces that belief that we have, then everything else will fall into place. Maybe they have a little issue with our teaching against contraception and they're married and they're wanting to become Catholic, but I'm not so sure. Sadly, too many converts that I've talked to have come into the church and they've been told by the people preparing them for the sacraments in the Catholic faith, contraception, you need to make your own decisions and follow your own conscience. That's not what the church teaches. Read Humanae Vitae.
Right.
The church teaches this is immoral and it will be harmful to your life and to the life of your spouse and to the life of your family if you don't follow the tough, challenging teaching that God has given us. So if you really embrace the real presence and really believe the Lord of the universe, I'm going to go, after we finish, I'm going to go celebrate a private mass here in the little chapel for my daily mass because I don't have a public mass today. At that mass, what happened at the Annunciation? imagine the awesome, humbling reality that I can go into that little chapel and pray through the ritual that we call the Mass, and bread and wine become him. The same Lord that was conceived in the womb of the Blessed Virgin Mary becomes really present on that altar in Tyler, Texas, just off Luke 3:23 at whatever time it happens. That is awesome. That is amazing.
It's a miracle.
And I think we tend to just take it for granted or not really believe. So, as usual, I'm famous for long answers to simple questions. But
it's,
I appreciate the zeal.
I would give to anyone coming into the Catholic faith is focus on Jesus and the Eucharist. That is one of the greatest gifts we have. He is really present there. And if they really embrace that, then they will be reverent when they come to Mass. They will look for the Mass to be celebrated with reverence and with awe and with sacred respect for the Lord of the universe is coming to this place. And then it will radiate out into all the teachings that maybe, for some people, maybe contraception isn't the toughest teaching they face. But for most people, as I've talked to converts, most people, as they're coming into the Catholic Church, there are a couple of things they're not so sure about and they really kind of struggle with, and maybe have to talk to the priest and really try to understand better. I really believe that if you really focus on that supernatural act that happens at every Mass, then everything else, you'll have the grace for one thing, the grace to be able to embrace all the other teachings as really good news, a joyful message of a way of life that guides us in the way, the truth, and the life that is Jesus Christ. I love to connect in my own prayer that moment of conception.